Hello and welcome to The Digital Insight, the technology, procurement and supply chain podcast that delivers valuable C-level perspective into the core issues surrounding business transformation and digital disruption. Each episode will bring you the most inspiring executive insights from those who are leading transformation strategies within the world's biggest and best-known companies. The Digital Insight. Disrupt, transform, evolve.
Welcome to The Digital Insight, the official podcast series for CPO Strategy and Interface magazines. My name is Dale, and today I am delighted to be joined by Mark Wright, Director of Climb Online. Not only is Mark a successful entrepreneur with a passion for business and a love of digital marketing, he's also the winner of Apprentice UK back in 2014. In this episode, Mark and I discuss the importance of speaking the right business language when operating in a crowded digital marketing sector. And we also explore how, as long as you have the passion, the drive, the knowledge, and a brutal honesty, then you have what it takes to succeed. This is a really fantastic discussion with Mark. I enjoyed myself, and I hope you do too. So Mark, thank you for joining us.
Dale, good to be with you. Thank you for having me.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Now, one thing I always like to ask so that A, we can find out a little bit more about you, but B, our listeners know, who are you and why you're here today. Give us a bit of an introduction then as to who you are in terms of a career perspective and where you are today with your business Climb Online.
God, that's a vast question. I think that, the first thing to say is my name is Mark Wright, and I share that name with another famous chap in Essex, and I'm not that Mark Wright. So that's the first warning sign to put out to everyone. But in all seriousness, my name is Mark, and I'm over here in the UK. You can tell by my accent I didn't start here. I'm from Australia, and I came over here in 2012 as a backpacker. And my journey was a bit of a strange one. I came over here just really on a jolly, mucking around with my friends and my brother initially, and we were backpacking around, and I loved London. I absolutely loved it here. So I decided to stay and see if I could make it, see if I could get a job. Got a job as a door-to-door salesman selling advertising, selling Google ads. And just like in life, things just start happening to you and you're not really sure why. Started working at an advertising agency that was crap. They were absolutely terrible. They treated their staff bad. They treated their customers poorly. And I knew I could do it better. So that really led me to starting my own business, applying for financing, which I couldn't get, which took me to the famous TV show, The Apprentice, which I hadn't heard of. I hadn't heard of Lord Sugar, hadn't heard of The Apprentice, but quite quickly I found out what it was all about. And today I sit here as not only an apprentice winner and Lord Sugar's business partner, but the CEO of an advertising agency, and a businessman. And life is a crazy journey, which, things start happening to you and you decide whether you go with them or you don't. And I've kind of had some amazing opportunities and I've made the most of them. And that's where we are today. So I'm an Australian man living in London that owns a few businesses and business partner to a very cranky yet famous man called Lord Sugar.
Oh, fantastic. And it's interesting, actually, because I remember I was at university. I think I just finished university on the season that you were in. So when, the opportunity came to speak to you and it was like, I think the original email was sort of like, whatever happened to Mark Wright? And I was like, I'm not, I'm definitely interested. So it's fantastic to be able to talk to you. Going back to what you just said, then one thing that I sort of hear quite commonly is, you said you came to the UK, you were sort of just mucking around, to use your own words. What was your experience before then? So I know you got a job, like I said, in sort of marketing while you were here, but it seems quite, forgive me to say it, quite a big jump then, a big leap from sort of not having that experience to suddenly owning your own business and, being quite successful. What was your experience of advertising and marketing in that sort of regard prior to sort of getting that job? Like you said, ultimately turned out to be quite crap.
Really zero. And I think this is the biggest misunderstood thing about becoming an entrepreneur, starting your own business, is people think you need to have it all figured out. You need to have had a successful innings to have your own business, et cetera, et cetera. And all you really need to start your own business, to be an entrepreneur, to be successful, is a passion for what you're doing and a hard work ethic. And if you have that, you can pretty much do whatever you want in this life. But I was living over in Australia, and not many people know this, but I'm dyslexic. I'm terribly bad at reading and writing. And I failed school, and quite quickly I was like falling behind, the people that I finished school with. Like, they were getting university degrees, they were getting high paid jobs. I was working first as a car wash, like as a valet, and then I was working in a sports shop, and I was crap at every job I did. Like, I went from car washing to working in a sports shop to working as a bartender and a waiter. And because I couldn't write the orders down, I would forget the orders, I wouldn't enter them in the till. Like, I was struggling to be a waiter, and things weren't looking good for me at all. So I always wanted to start my own business. I always wanted to work for myself. I've always hated being told what to do. I hate being told what to do. So I decided I was going to start my own business, but the big problem was I wasn't good at anything, and I had no college education. I had no grades to speak of. And so I thought, what can I do? I went online, I searched around, and I found the quickest course I could do to run my own business was be a personal trainer. It was a 6-week course online, and I could be a personal trainer. So I did it, and I started my own personal training business. And I started training one of the richest men in Australia, very, very wealthy guy. And I said to him, how do I get rich? How do I be successful? And he said, son, don't be a personal trainer. I was like, darn, I just did the course and started my own business. And I said, well, who's making all the money? Where's all the success? Where's all the money? And he said, it's in sales and marketing. And it was like a light bulb for me. I was like, okay, I need to get into sales and marketing. And I went and worked at the college where I did my personal training certificate, where I did my training, the online course. And they invented this system, which was a fantastic system where you could study personal training anywhere in Australia online. But the problem was they weren't getting any sales. Their sales were absolutely like $2,000-$3,000 a month. And the business was going bankrupt. And I said to the owner, this is an amazing system, but no one's buying it because no one's heard about us. And he said, well, I've got us an ad in the Yellow Pages. And I was like, listen, we need to be on Google. Everyone is on Google. This is like really in the early days. And he said, I don't know anything about this. So I taught myself how to make a website, and I got it ranking #1 for the term personal training course. And we went from $2,000 a month in sales to $250,000 a month in sales in 3 months. And that's when I knew what I was going to do for my career.
No, and that's incredible. And this is going to be a big kind of leap in terms of a question, but looking at that experience, looking at that early experience then, and looking at where you are now, tell us what Climb Online is and how, as a business and as a person still, you still have that early experience, that early kind of success, what you did, you sort of that drive, and how the two feed into one another.
Yeah, I think, look, finding the right career, finding the right passion in life, it's kind of like finding the right girlfriend or boyfriend or partner. When you know, and when I got those words ranking on Google and I saw the phone ringing and the sales going up, I knew I was going to do digital marketing. I don't know why, but I finally found something that I was good at, that I enjoyed, and I wasn't looking at the clock. It felt like fun, and that's when I knew what my job was going to be. And then I worked in that terrible agency who was ripping off their customers and their employees. And I knew, we've got a saying in Australia, don't get bitter, get better. And I knew I could do it better. And that's what led me to starting my own company, Climb Online, which I own 50% with Lord Sugar. And what is Climb Online? Well, I always tell people you should call your business what it does on the tin. Climb Online helps people do exactly that, get as high as possible online. And we build websites, we do social media campaigns, we do Google Ads campaigns, we do email marketing, whatever it is to help people get more sales and leads from online. Climb Online specializes in. And that business has changed my life. We do the marketing for companies like Emirates, for TikTok, Made.com, CV Library, massive companies that you would have heard of, HP, etc., right down to the dentist in your local area that has one chair and needs some more customers and the phone ringing a bit more. So my business has been built off helping people understand the internet and understanding how to use that to generate more business. And the reason it's been successful, I think, is one, we understand what we're doing, but we make it simple for the customers. We don't talk about impressions and clicks and this and click-through rate and all of this garbage. We understand that. We've got the nerds that understand it, but we speak business language to the owners of business about how to really get bang for their buck, and making sure that they can get more customers than they need to be profitable.
Yeah. And you touch on a very important point there about, and on this podcast and in the people that I speak to operating in a digital landscape, whether it is like an online business, whether it's marketing, whether it's advertising or anything, that there is just so much that's out there that it can become quite overwhelming. And obviously people are told you need to be online, you need to be understanding your SEO, you need to know about paid advertising. And like, as I've said, that can be so overwhelming that you actually don't know where to start. So what do you do in terms of the way you work with clients to cut through all of that noise and say, like you've just said, you don't talk about all that kind of rubbish. You just sort of get to it and talk in a business sense. How do you go about doing that? How do you go about talking to these people, these clients, and saying, this is what you need to know and this is how we can help you, rather than, all these floaty words here, there, and everywhere?
An excellent question. It's an excellent question. And it comes back to understanding the customer's industry and business that you're dealing with. No digital marketing campaign is ever the same. And that's because no business is ever the same. And the fundamental flaw most digital marketers make, or most people in the online world, is taking a cookie cutter approach, treating every business like the same and that every campaign should be the same, when every business needs to be displayed and understood differently. And what I did very, very well early on is personally get to know the individual that I'm dealing with and their personalities and the personalities of their business to understand which marketing strategy would be most appropriate for this business. For example, if you're working with a plumber that's got a great personality, looks great on camera, something like YouTube ads or social media marketing ads with video of that guy talking about his products and services could be phenomenal because he's got something his competition doesn't, which is his personality. Then you might have someone that's shy, hates being in front of the camera, but is very creative. And that person could do great testimonials, great imagery and case studies on their website and boost it out through blogs or whatever it might be that get their way. And it's understanding what's going to work for the customer and what works best for that industry. And that's why these cheap outsourcing it to India, cookie cutter approach businesses don't work. And 99 times out of 100, I go and meet a business and they tell me I tried marketing, it didn't work. But they've tried marketing that's worked for everyone else, but hasn't had anyone understand what they should be doing.
No, absolutely. And that kind of also leads itself to, so, obviously once upon a time, you said you didn't have that experience, you didn't have that understanding, that knowledge, but over the years, it's become your bread and butter. It's become, you live and breathe it every day. And customers and clients will come to you with what they think they want, what they think they understand, but ultimately there's going to be a kind of a hurdle that they can't overcome because it's not what they think. It's not what they know. Sorry, it's what they think they should know. Again, sort of following on what we just said, how important is it to be able to communicate to them to speak the language of the client? You've talked about you talk in a way that they understand, but you've also said that you work with clients, for example, Emirates, but also the local dentist. So, that's going to be different types of conversations, but also ultimately with the same outcome. So how do you do that? How does one feed into the other? How does what you've learned with working with an Emirates feed into that local business owner?
Well, I am a very direct person, and sometimes customers, they don't all like me. And I told a lady on the phone the other day, she was ringing, she was very upset with me because she didn't feel the marketing approach I was displaying for her business, the one that I outlined, the strategy was right for her business. And I said to her this, I said, you've been with other marketing companies before and you failed every single time. Now, if I presented you the same strategy and the same approach that you've done over and over again, we will fail again. You have come to me and paid me very hard-earned money to come to me to let me do your marketing. And then you're going to ring me up and tell me how to do your marketing. And then if I listen to you, we'll fail because I am the expert. I am the person that is the best marketer, is the best company to go to. and I'm charging you. Now, if I was to listen to you and do your strategy, why would you pay me good money to do that for you? You must listen to me. I don't ring you up if you're a dentist and tell you how to fit a crown or whiten my teeth or do this, because I don't really know. I might have watched a couple of YouTube videos or heard about it down the pub, but I don't really know what I'm doing because I haven't got the experience. I haven't got the expertise. And the funny thing about marketing is everyone is a bit of a bedroom DJ. They think they know their onions, so to speak. But the truth is, I've worked 11 years every day, as you say, day in, day out, working with thousands of companies. I get it. I understand what to do. And I have to be quite blunt with people sometimes and just say, just leave me to it, because you don't put your car in the garage with the mechanics and stand over him and tell him which wrench to use and which filters to change. You understand that that person has experience and qualifications and the understanding of what to do. And generally, the biggest problems I've ever seen in marketing campaigns is owner-operators dipping their wick in and going in and making changes and putting their two bobs worth in, or not spending enough money. And then they tell us that marketing doesn't work. And if you hire experts, if you work with people, you've got to let them do their jobs and not tell them how to do their jobs. Because, Steve Jobs was a great advocate. If you hire A players, you need them to let them be A players, let them be creative, let them do the things that you hired them for. And that's when you get the best results. And that's when I've run into a bit of trouble with people before, because I get very robust in saying, you must let us do our job and I will get you the best results.
And so, you've talked then about you work each and every day. You work very hard for the last 11 years to get to where you are, to get this business to where it is. And this is a very broad question because obviously so much has changed in that time. But just looking at the kind of digital marketing landscape from your perspective, from what you've seen, what would you say today if you could go back and say to yourself when you were starting out, in terms of what some of the biggest changes are, how the conversations have changed, what the expectations are from clients and that sort of thing, and how would you sort of sum up some of the biggest shifts in the industry?
Well, I think the first thing is no one really understood, I don't think, just how powerful the internet marketing world was going to become for businesses. I mean, we've seen the end of directories, telephone books. The internet has really wiped out any form of really old-fashioned media. The TV is holding on, billboards are holding on, etc. But, the really listing stuff is gone. And the high street has been mullered by online shopping. And, because of this COVID stuff, it's even more so. I understood when I saw Google Ads how powerful this stuff was going to be, but not even I estimated just how much we would depend on digital advertising come 2020. And thank God I picked it as a career, because I'm definitely backed the right horse, so to speak. For me, the things that grossly are underestimated is content. Content, we know the saying, content is king, but we still right now underestimate how important video content is for businesses. Creating great explainer videos about who you are as a business person, who or what your product and services is and how it can help someone, is still today the most underestimated phenomenon in my sector, in our sector. Having great content online, whether that's on YouTube, social media, or on your website, that really explains what you do and demonstrates yourself is essential. Google is saying by the end of this year, 80% of all internet traffic will be consumed via video. So if you're a business owner right now, your one question should be is, how can I create more videos? Because that's going to be the trade online moving forward. And that's really the big mover and the thing that, if I understood even sooner, we could be further forward.
Yeah. And on that note, and to quote what it says on Climb Online's website, that you talked about changing the game, radically changing the game. In that time, and as you talked about sort of the future as well, how important is it to not stand still? So yes, you're very successful. Yes, you obviously won the Apprentice. You kind of, rocket launched and became even bigger. But you couldn't just put your feet up and just say, well, we're here now. Let's, you either come to us or that's it. Like, what are you doing constantly to ensure that you are pushing further and further? Because, from my perspective, and forgive me if I'm wrong, there are thousands of marketing companies. There are thousands of companies that could say and promise the world to clients, but what do you do to ensure that you stay ahead of them?
Yeah, there's thousands of companies that do. And this is the £1 million question. Any company, any entrepreneur, any business person that stops innovating starts dying. The day you start standing still, you start moving backwards. So you've got to constantly challenge yourself to stay ahead of the market. That's listening to your customers. That's listening to technology, understanding what the next Facebook's going to be, what the next video content's going to be. Is it going to be augmented reality? Is it going to be VR? Is it going to be UX? What is it going to be that's going to be the next Google AdWords for our sector? And our job is constantly investing in research, constantly investing in new products and new markets to make sure that we're ahead of every other marketing agency out there. Once upon a time, you used to walk into a phone shop and there was thousands, not thousands, let's call it hundreds of phones on the wall. You'd go into a car phone warehouse and you could pick, be it 150 phones off the wall to be your handset. Now you walk into the shop, there's 3. You've probably got a Galaxy, you've got an iPhone, and maybe whatever the third party of the day is. But there has been people that have come into that market that their products have been so good, it killed the other competitors. My job at Climb Online is making sure that our product and our technology gets our customers such good results that there's no other option than to go with us, and it kills those other 1,000 competitors. And that's what I think about every day as I'm getting up and I'm going into work, is what am I doing today for my customers that's going to make me so essential to their business that everyone has to use me?
Yeah. And that, again, lends itself to you personally, and obviously the team that you have and the people you work with. Yes, you are experts in your field. Yes, you have great experience, but ultimately there are going to be things that you come up against that perhaps you just don't have the know-how, or perhaps it's something that's a bit out of reach. So what are you doing personally to ensure that you, again, and the people around you are constantly pushing your own mindsets? You're constantly pushing yourselves and learning, just so that A, the business moves forward, yeah, but B, you continue to be, I don't want to say the right man for the job or anything like that, but you know what I mean? Like, sort of, you're continuously pushing yourself so that you yourself aren't standing still.
There is continual learning is so important. I read a lot. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm constantly doing courses to upgrade my own knowledge. But I'm only one person and I only have 24 hours a day. And it can't go understated how important having a team of A players is around you. People that are much smarter than me, much more capable than I am. And what my profile, what my hard work and my knowledge has done to this point is allow me to earn the money to hire people that I couldn't have dreamed of. And then when you start, my job now is to create a team of A players that can do things that I could never do. And I see my day-to-day role and my challenge as recruiting and assembling people that will change the world. And that's my focus right now. And if I was still doing the work myself in 12 months, I will have failed. The work has got to be being done by people that are really much better than me. And that's how I challenge myself now.
So we talked about, obviously, then it's a very fluid is perhaps the wrong word, but ever-changing and evolving landscape. So much is changing on a daily basis. And ultimately, that's going to lead itself to both successes and obviously failures and missteps. Looking over your time then, looking over some of the clients you've worked with and the things you've seen, what would you say are some of the, what you still see today, some of the biggest kind of, I don't want to say the word mistakes, but errors and failures that people are still making, that business is making, that they just for some reason aren't recognizing? Like, what are you seeing out there?
The biggest thing is mindset. Most people don't actually want to be successful. They say they want to be successful. They say they want to have a big business. But when you really push these people to, really hold their feet to the fire and say, let's do it. Let's spend the money. The market's there. The leads are there. The sales are there. Let's do it. They don't want to do it. It all starts in the mind of the owner, operator, the entrepreneur. Where do you want to be? How successful do you want to be? 96% of adults still don't write their goals down. They still don't have goals. 4% of adults that write those goals down control over 70% of the wealth. That's unbelievable. So we understand that people that think big, that understand where they are and where they're going, are responsible for the success, yet most people still don't do that. So what I see as the biggest mistakes is not anything to do with marketing, is not anything to do with employees. It's all to do with self-belief and work ethic. And I know people that are just, people would call them stupid, but they're multimillionaires, they're billionaires, and they are that way because they believe in themselves and they've worked really hard. Being smart isn't everything. It's definitely really important, but it's not everything. Hard work, determination, and belief in yourself and your product and your brand. People do not buy the best product. They buy the most well-known product. And that comes from relentless hard work of getting in front of a new audience constantly. Starbucks does not make the best burger. The best coffee, and McDonald's does not make the best burger. They are the most well-known, and that's why we drink and eat them every single day. And someone behind those brands has made sure they get in front of us constantly. And time and time again, I sit with people and they say, well, we have the best product. It will get out there eventually. It won't, unless you're willing to put it out in front of people and work really damn hard consistently over a long period of time. And yeah, that's my frustration. I get really frustrated when I sit with people who do have something great, yet they don't have the belief in themselves and in their brand to really push it out there.
And flipping that on its head then, again, a large part of what we do, and obviously a large part of what you do, is looking at the market, looking at what's happening around you. So we talked about missteps, talked about the sort of things that perhaps don't quite work out. What about successes? Because obviously we as a race, but obviously we as people, we look for things to be inspired by and say, well, that's successful there. How can I learn from that? How can I apply that to my own life or my own business? Again, from a marketing perspective, in the time you've been doing it, what are in recent years, some of the biggest successes that have kind of really shifted the conversation and pushed it forward? What would you say some of those are?
It's a great question. It's a fantastic question. I mean, we're living in just the most fascinating time in human history. The advances in technology that we're seeing are just unbelievable. I mean, you go back 70 years ago, they didn't have the TV. We now have the internet. I still remember in my time where we had dial-up internet and you would have to sit there for 10 minutes while the box made all that noises and it'd take 5 minutes for a website to sort of click down the browser. We're living in a time where sort of machine learning, algorithms, analytics are just changing the game. Some of the stuff I'm seeing in analytics, put it this way, I definitely think elections are being influenced, that things are being done online using data and analytics that we cannot even dream of. I've seen technology that it just blows your mind in terms of data prediction and output that is just breathtaking. The stuff that the companies are collecting in terms of data and using to segment audiences, supply advertising data, but also control what we're seeing and feeling and through the media that we're consuming is just really intelligent stuff. And I think we're moving really quickly. And the thing that I'd want to back is being on top of analytics and data. That's the thing that I've seen over the last couple of years that's really impressed me, and the thing that I think is going to be the big game changer moving forward. And if you're in business right now, understanding your customers and what they want to see, what they're feeling, how to talk to them is really important. And there is technology out there to do that much better than you're doing it right now. And it's the customers that are understanding that technology and how important analytics are that are the ones that are going to be successful over the next few years.
We've obviously, in talking about success and talking about those missteps, as a business owner and as a person who speaks to clients, how important is it? While yes, we champion the successes, as yes, we say this is where we've succeeded, this is the awards we've won, and that sort of thing. How important is it when speaking with clients and as a team? Is it to acknowledge the things that didn't work, to sort of turn around and say, well, what can we learn from this, as opposed to just ignoring it and focusing only on communicating like I say, the successes?
Well, it comes back to honesty. I don't think it's really being success or failure. You will keep your customers no matter what sector you're in, whether that's marketing or any service sector, as long as you're brutally honest with your customers. When things go well, when things go right, tell them, show them, demonstrate it. When things go bad, tell them, show them, and tell them what you've learned and understood that will make more success in the future. People get into problems with customers when they try and sugarcoat the bad stuff and paint it as good stuff, where realistically, the bad stuff in business can be as helpful as the good stuff because you always learn more. You can save money in the future. You can grow bigger successes in the future by understanding the failures. And it comes back to being brutally honest. I tell my staff all the time, never go missing from a tough conversation. Always have that tough conversation and tell a customer, this is what we've learned from it. This is what we tried. This is what worked. This is what didn't work, because it comes back to expertise. Sometimes the customers appreciate the failures more than the successes because now you've learned something that hasn't worked. And it's great investment to learn from things that don't work, because then you don't do it again in the future and you create more success. So it's just about being brutally honest always with yourself and with your customers.
And that leads quite nicely then to the kind of a big topic, of course, that's happening right now all around the world, that honesty in times of great challenge. And of course, with COVID, it's forced a lot of companies to kind of reflect on what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, but also reflect on the way that they work with customers and the way that they work with clients. Again, looking at the things you've seen and the people that you work with, but also your own business. How has COVID impacted the way you've had to basically communicate with people and it impacted that drive and need for honesty?
Oh, gosh, it's been a very challenging period. But at the same time, when I've reflected on it recently, I'm very grateful for where we are and what we've learned. I mean, for example, the amount of money that we've discovered we were wasting on going to face-to-face meetings all around the country, getting on a plane here, a train here, a hotel there. When our sales process is now improved, it's now shorter. We're doing more things by Teams, Zoom, etc., like this, saving the company money. We're closing bigger deals. We're closing them faster, all using technology, because this disease, this COVID thing has changed the world. Now, the health side of it is terrible. The business side has really sorted out the men from the boys, shall we say. It's sorted out the skilled sailors from the people that were just floating around on a wooden door. There's businesses that are going under right now, and they're saying it's because of coronavirus. Jamie's Italian went under about a year ago, 12 months ago, right before coronavirus. If they went bankrupt right now, they would blame coronavirus. They didn't go bad because of coronavirus. They were just a bad business. There are many companies that were over-leveraged, that had poor market share, that had too many employees, they had bad technology, and now they're blaming coronavirus. On the flip side, there are some companies like airlines that are just affected, holiday companies that are really affected by coronavirus, and I get that. Our job as business people is to understand who it is affecting and who it isn't. At the start of this, it did affect my business a little bit, but we've improved our processes, we've learned from it, and we've understood what we can do better through technology, through working with different industries, different niches, to make sure that we're more protected for the future. But we've also understood that there was wastage in our business that we could improve on. So listen, tough times they're always going to be around. So this year it's coronavirus, in the future it will be something else. We can either sit back, furlough ourselves, furlough our employees, and blame the environment for failure, or you can tackle it head on and you can learn from it. And if you can run a business right now, if you can thrive right now, you've got an incredible business. If your business makes it through this, you have something for the future. If it doesn't, you probably didn't have a great business anyway. And your job is to be serious, and it comes back to that honesty. Look at yourself and say, is this coronavirus, or is this a bad business? Is this a bad employee, or is this a coronavirus problem? And I think this period has been a great a great time for really true reflection, looking your business in the mirror and understanding what is good and what is bad. What do I want to change and what do I want to keep? And there's been a lot of natural cleansing in this period. And I think a lot of people, whilst right now it feels really ugly, in 12 months' time, they're going to have made some decisions or be in a totally different business or career and be really happy and glad this happened, because sometimes things always have a natural way of working themselves out.
And one thing that I like to ask a lot of people, regardless of what industry they're in and what sector they work in, is like, what's COVID done for that sector in terms of the conversation? So in terms of marketing, what has this period done in terms of, has it made people and businesses more aware of what they need to be doing? Has it pushed the conversation backwards? Have you seen now more than ever that some of the biggest traffic and demand for, a more refined marketing strategy? Like, what have you seen from that marketing standpoint, from what businesses and clients want from you?
Well, exactly. We've seen customers quite quickly understand just how important it is to have their website set up and their business set up from an online perspective. What do I mean by that? One, to find and attract the new customers and retain their existing customers, but to be able to continue to trade, whether that's selling their products online, whether that's generating sales online, whatever it might be. But we're seeing record website sales from companies that have been dependent on high street footfall that have just been decimated, and they've quickly had to build a website and a web presence to attract customers. Conversely, web businesses that were set up for this, that had websites running, that had an online presence, have seen an absolute boom, record sales, because it was almost split for people who did things the old way and people who really embraced the new way. But it was much bigger disparity than what I thought. And really quickly, coronavirus has taught every business owner that you have to be online. You have to be able to trade online. You have to be able to attract attention online if you're going to survive in the future. Now, that might be because a virus shuts your business down, or that might be because whatever happens, but you've got to be able to trade online to keep your business going no matter what happens. And it's been an amazing shift for our industry, because what we saw at the start of coronavirus is everyone retreated a little bit, took their budgets down, paused spends for a while. And after about 3 weeks, we saw record sales and we saw people going online more than ever, because I think people sat back and realized without digital, without social media, without having a great website, their business sales just plummeted. Things weren't going to open back up as quickly as we thought. So for our industry, it's been a great hard educator for, the average business owner who didn't really understand the importance.
Yeah. And my final question is one that I'd like to ask everybody again is, we don't know a secret to success. Obviously, things that have worked for you probably might not work for somebody else, and vice versa and that sort of thing. But I always like to ask, because it's fascinating to hear everybody's answers. It's always different. But if you could give one piece of advice, something that looking over your career, looking over your business, that you find no matter what it is, it definitely helps steer you in the right direction. What advice would you give to somebody listening to this, whether it's a potential customer, whether it's a business owner? What would you say, look, this isn't going to guarantee success, but this will help steer you in the right path, aside from saying, come and connect with me on Climb Online?
Well, that would be a good one. Find whatever it is you love to do and then get obsessed with it. If you want to be successful, you have to be obsessed with being successful in whatever it is. And that's the best advice I could give anyone. I learned very early on what it is I was going to do, and I focused on that day in, day out. I watched YouTube videos about it at lunchtime. I worked till midnight about it, day in and day out. And it is really finding something that you enjoy, finding something you're good at and passionate about, and then just really working at it like crazy. And if you do that, doesn't matter what tools you have behind you, what mentor you've got, this, that, and the other, you'll get there eventually if you stick at it long enough.
No, fantastic. And a nice sort of softball question, one that I like to give everybody is, if someone is listening and wants to find out more about Climb Online, what is the best way that they can reach you and find out more and get involved?
Well, it should be very simple. If you just Google the words Climb Online, you will find us. If you search for Mark Wright, I'm number 2 on every social media after the other Mark Wright I mentioned. But if you search on any social media channel or on Google for Climb Online, go to climb-online.co.uk, you will find us. And we're happy to speak to any individual that's looking for more PR. We're happy to speak to any business that's looking for more leads and sales. And we'd love to work with anyone who really does want to be successful and get their brand out there.
Oh, fantastic. Mark, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Dale. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for listening to the Digital Insight Podcast in association with the Interface.net and CPOstrategy.com. The Digital Insight is brought to you by B2E Media Limited. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please remember to subscribe, rate and review. And don't forget to check out our podcast archive at www.b2e-media.com/The Digital Insight.